views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Wow, everyone. Hey, I want to welcome everybody. Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show, Talk Radio to Thrive By, Transformation Talk Radio, TransformationRadio.fm. I want to give a shout out, Benny, if we could, just a minute, to our friends across the prairie at WBLQ in Rhode Island. And I know you are getting slammed with some weather. Thank you, Chris, for getting out to that. Now, Benny, you got to help me. Transformer building, what do they call that, where the AM FM stuff is? What's that building?
Yeah, it's usually the transformer site. I mean, it depends on where you're located. Up high, down low. It sounds like they're probably down low like we are on an AM station, but I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, he got the AM and he got the FM music one going.
So he's got both. Right. He's
got both. And, you know, it's interesting. When I went back to Rhode Island, I went to the building where this stuff lives, and it was fascinating to see it. You know, I didn't understand the, quote, tower, right? And so I know that we have a tower, too, here. And so I got to see the tower, and I got to go in the building.
We actually have 3 towers.
Yes, you do.
Because we're directional, so we can actually manipulate the signal per the tower locations, just to let you know there, Pat. And AM stands for what? Big quiz for you.
AM?
Yeah.
Breakfast?
No. It's amplitude modulation. So,
right. Thank you.
And then you have FM, which is frequency modulated.
That's right. And, you know, we're all about the amplitude.
That's why I went to college. I learned a couple of things there.
Yeah, I know. 4 years in college.
Yeah, in between the barley and hops. Yeah,
exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Right. Sorry. It's
Benny
easy.
spent $100 grand on his education.
I did. I pretty much did for her. That's a lot of beer.
so he can know AM and FM. That's what I'm talking about. But, I love this show today. And, Benny, you know this about me. You know that I love to talk about and do things with music. As a matter of fact, for those of you out there, a couple of you guys emailed me because you saw we switched up a couple of the channels on our soon-to-be TransformationRadio.fm. And, you know, it's interesting. You know, folks emailing about this and about that, but the hot item right now is the music channel we just put up. The music channel that we're going to be doing for independent artists, for people that are out in the world with a message and a voice, you know. And what does that even mean? Alvin Harrison joining me here today. I'm so loving this show, Benny, and we've got music we're going to play throughout the show. Rough Times in America with Alvin Harrison. You know, look at this really sings to my heart because I grew up in a time and a day and age where 1969, we all got in a bus, went down to Atlantic City, and we burned our bras. Now, why did we do that? Well, just Google it and you can figure that out.
Yours particularly?
I did. I burned mine.
Right.
For sure.
Was it a little one or a big one, or does it matter what size?
Oh, nice. Right? Right. I have to think about that.
See?
I have to think about that. I think it was medium. It was a medium.
Well played.
You think it was medium?
It wasn't too big.
So I'm gonna get right to the middle of that, right?
All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, this is actually before, you know, like, never mind. I'm gonna get way off course here. But here's what I love about Alvin. This is what I'm loving about this. So his lyrics and the music speaks to and attempts to raise awareness. I love this because that's what everything we're doing on the radio is about. It's to raise awareness to the problems and the issues facing Americans and members of the community of the world. Now, I want to just say to everybody, yeah, we're launching these networks and we're super excited, but there's something else we're launching. And we're launching a crowdfunding campaign to raise funds to take our voice back. Now, why are we doing that? Well, it's very easy. If you really look at the state of media right now and what's happening in this country, I can only talk about this country, is that almost all media is owned by two mega corporations. And, I tried to really wrap my mind around that. And, we're very fortunate to have two stations here, both KKNW AM 1150 and WBOQ 1230 over in Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York. We're very fortunate that these particular types of stations have not been swallowed up by those two networks. Now, I'm not saying that that's a possibility because ratings are really good on both of these stations. What I'm saying is, what are we going to do to make sure we're maintaining and keeping our voice? But how about the songs we grew up with? And this is what excites me about this. Were songwriters simply better back in the day of the 60s and 70s? Were they? Or were the events noteworthy of protest, change, lyrics? What is it about the time that we live in where music may or may not have had more relevance? And so what today is about is looking at the culture, the force, the music. What does the music of the generations of the past say to the social change that we want to accomplish in the world today? And then how are we, or are we creating music that raises the level of awareness? Today, you're actually going to hear some music by Alvin Harrison on the show today. We're going to talk about what it means and all of the above. For those of you out there, he writes, performs, he records music. He has labels socially relevant with his band, The 99. The lyrics of his music speak to and attempt to raise awareness to the problems and issues facing American members of the community of the world. That's what we do here. We shine the light of awareness. And hopefully we provide you with enough information so you can make an informed, intelligent decision. So for those of you out there, that's why we're launching transformationradio.fm and a music channel, because there is relevance in what we listen to and what we do with that. Alvin, great to have you on the show. It's great to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Pratt. I am glad to be here.
I want to talk with you about some of these questions that were raised here. I'm like you. I mean, I remember the first time I actually saw Bob Dylan in person down at the Cafe Wa in the Village. And, this guy really nobody thought was going to be much of anything. Songs were really long-winded, so some people thought. And then he changed up on us and went from acoustical to electrical, and everybody wanted to disown him. But to this day, those songs were relevant for the times. And I would love to hear you chat a little bit about what those songs from the 60s and the 70s meant, and where are we today?
Well, they spoke to the social problems of the time, and I think they really, galvanized people into thinking about what's important. The problem we have today is something that you spoke to just a few minutes ago about. We only have two big corporations running radio stations. Yep. Corporate takeover of radio and corporate takeover really of record labels has really reduced things to probably the lowest common denominator in music. Nobody in the corporation wants to be the one to try something new. So you'll find that you get something that happens and every other every other record label tries to jump on board and follow. You remember when they started with, they got a hit with vocoder voices, that kind of robot-sounding voices. Every song after that had that sound on it. So what you get with radio stations is, it used to be back in the days when Bob Dylan was making music, is they were independent stations.
Yes.
And so stations could play anything they wanted, and they had a program director. Well, the program director would hear what was going on in the community and Bob's effect in the community. He plays Bob Dylan's records. Nowadays, you have all these stations, but you have one program director. And that program director's, his marching orders are to make money. And it's not so much, do things that are important to the community. The mantra of a corporation is make money. And so they will play the hits only. And that has affected the musicians also, because the musicians have to make a hit. And, protest music and music that is socially relevant is not necessarily something that, people want to have interfere with their party, love song.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's pretty much what's happened. We actually did pretty well with our song Rough Times in America. It got to number 22 on independent stations.
Mm-hmm.
But radio has, like everything else, has become so expensive, and the promotion of records has become so expensive that for a small-time operator like me,
Mm-hmm.
It just got prohibitively expensive to get higher than number 22.
Yeah. Well, this is really what we're talking about. And this is what I alluded to. And, for us, we're launching a 10-channel network in September. And people looked at us like, what are you doing? And, I wish I could claim to fame that we've thought this out. We know what we're doing. We're just called to move and take action from the heart. And we'll listen to people about what they want. But at the same time, we know that we need to put a campaign together to make sure that we can let the world know about this. Because once people know about what you and I are talking about they're all in. Now, this is a really interesting question. Has our culture, pop culture, let's talk about this when we come back from break, our culture or pop culture changed so much that the idea of protesting to get attention takes second note to where social media is taking people. Can you imagine, Alvin? Can you imagine if we would have had all of that music and all of that and the social media we had today? OMG. Let's take a short break. When we come back, this and much more. Alvin Harrison joining me here today.
People in the land, they thought would always last. In this land of milk and honey.
Holistic Medical Center is where you find it all. A healthy space with doctors who care, see, and listen to the whole you. Hi, this is Dr. Darvish. If you have not found an answer to your chronic symptoms, you will find answers here at Holistic Medical Center. Our doctors find the root cause of your symptoms and guide your body towards healing naturally. We transform lives from within. Visit drdarvish.com or call 425-451-0404.
My dream is to end homelessness.
My passion is living a green life.
My dream is to end poverty.
My passion is volunteering.
My passion is making a difference.
My dream is to cure Lyme disease.
My passion is rebuilding communities.
My passion is helping those in need.
My passion is caring for the elderly.
My dream is to find a cure for cancer.
My dream is to leave a better world for my children.
We all have that special passion, that lifelong dream that drives us to live our lives with meaning and to create a better world. No matter what drives you, we can all make an impact. Dr. Pat Baccili is helping others make their dreams come true, so we can all help make our world a better world.
To learn more about how Dr. Pat is building a community of sharing hope, strength, funds, knowledge, and information, visit abetterworldcrowdfunding.com today. That's abetterworldcrowdfunding.com.
Become a self-actualized professional coach, mentor, and leader, and make your difference in the world. The Rayner Institute has trained people from 4 continents and is the top-rated, accredited coach platform in the world. You'll learn skills from a program created by Mark Rayner as a result of 35 years of research as to what actually works for positive, lasting change. Come if you dare and give your life a chance at making the difference it so desires. Visit RaynerInstitute.com to learn more. How would you like increased health and vitality? How would you like to avoid the onset of disease as well as slow the aging process? This is all possible through a simple, safe, and natural process. Every day we are either moving toward wellness or away from wellness.
Hi, I'm Mary Jane Mack. I'd like to be your partner in achieving optimal health. Contact me now at maryjanemack.com or call 425-392-0659. Visit maryjanemack.com.
Wow, welcome back, everyone. Rough Times in America. Alvin Harrison joining me here today. It's so great to have him on the show. And you just heard a little bit of that song, Rough Times in America. And, you know, and it is a powerful, powerful song. And, you know, Alvin, we were talking about before the break, you know, can we figure out what has changed? And you pointed to something really kind of, you know, interesting. For people that listen to this show, the way that a show like this gets on air and the way that independent music gets on air is really kind of in the same mode. And I think you pointed to this before the break. I'm on air because I pay for this airtime. That's why I'm on air. If for some reason I was not able to pay for this airtime, the Dr. Pat Show would go away. And some people may miss it, and others probably not. Because we're living in a time where, you know, are we able to take a show like this, music like yours, and pop it into a mainstream modality where we're not going to be charged tens of thousands of dollars to have a voice? And by the way, that's what TransformationRadio.fm is going to provide. Because if we're not doing something different to bring voice to the issues that people are experiencing, then what is going to happen underneath the surface for all of this, Alvin? And thank you for joining me here today. That is Tough Times in America. That's a rough song, but it is so true.
Yeah, it is. You know, corporate takeover of anything leads to changes that I think are probably not good. They're good for the corporation, but they're really not good for the people. I mean, I can name you any number of instances. But in radio, it's just, you know, it's all about the money with the corporation. So it's not about the people. It's not about informing people. It's not about, you know, educating people. It's all about the money. And so when you get that kind of situation going, there's no room for things that educate. There's no room for things that teach or start to get discussions going. And that's a big change from the way things were, say, 20, 30 years ago. You know, as we were talking during the break, and I mentioned people, it's not so much that people don't care. Life is tough in America these days. And so it's a rough world out there. They're trying to survive. hard to survive that taking on a corporation is something that takes some willpower and some real guts.
Well, I think we're in a dilemma of choices. And I think this is really kind of fascinating. I mean, when we went through a couple of things with the protest on Wall Street, that was a statement, but it was like a statement that was made almost as if you had, a mosquito bite that you had to scratch and then it was gone. And so the difference between the time we live in and the music that we're referring to of the 60s and 70s, I mean, just saying that is almost bizarro, because we're not just talking about a year or a moment in time. We're talking about literally 2 decades in time that were filled with songs of protest, songs of equality. It didn't matter if we were looking at Led Zeppelin, or if we were looking at Jimi Hendrix, or if we were looking at the Temptations, or Marvin Gaye. I mean, just look at the work of Marvin Gaye. If we did nothing else but take a look at what that voice and message was about, and if Marvin Gaye were to be alive today, he would see the power and the purpose of those lyrics. Now, tell me, is that what we need to resurrect and bring back today in this world of music? And will people listen, Alvin?
Yes, I think it is what we need to bring back today, but the people have to demand it.
Yeah.
Because the record companies and the radio program directors are not going to just do this on their own. If they see that there's a want and a need for it, and that people really want it, then they will do it because it will make money. You see, the whole thing comes down to this corporate takeover of things and a change in direction of the radio station's focus. It used to be they were focused on the community because the community supported them. Now it's all of a focus on money and making money. And so it's very hard for someone even like a Beyonce or a Jay-Z or any number of country stars. You get a few who break the mold, but it's very hard for them to make a record that they want to make to say what they're thinking about the state of the world or the United States, and have it accepted by the record company as something they're willing to spend the money on. So it gets...
Well, yeah. Let's talk about this, and I would love for you to continue about the song we just played. Tough Times in America, and isn't this the paradoxical scenario we have, right? The tough times in America are hard to call tough times when the stock market, right, that we've now made our new god, the stock market is soaring, right? And yet kids are coming out of school. People that thought they were going to have jobs and pensions are looking for jobs. Folks are on the edge with health care. I have a friend that, has no health care. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I'm a person that is just like, oh, you listen to the show, there she goes again. She's got to be one of those liberal people. I don't know that I am that. I know that if you've grown up in a ghetto and you've been in poverty and you've been homeless like I've been, that is a place that if you experience it, boy, I'll tell you, it changes you forever, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And, you talked about the stock market, and it's, it's just soaring. But, who's taking advantage of that soaring stock market? It's not really the people per se. It's 0.05% of the population. So things are on the outside, and if you take certain numbers, look good. But when you look at what's happening with the middle class and to just regular folks who listen to your show, they're not really getting the advantages of these soaring stock markets and things like that. So it's rough times in America.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the songs of today. and what's happening in the world today. You know, how are the songs of today shaping and crafting change? And believe me, they are. When we come back, we'll talk about, you know, what Alvin, what his music, the band, what they're doing, what change they're invoking to be made. And what about our pop culture? Is it all fashion and bling? Or are we getting some messages for a kinder, gentler, peaceful, and more conscious world? Stay tuned. We'll be right back with the Dr. Pat Show.
We got children crying, say they don't get enough to eat. We got parents trying, but they wind up living on the street. We got young men dying while they're fighting somebody else's fight. 99% working cradle to grave, and you know the 1% know that ain't right. Everybody sing. Sometimes in America, land of the free, home of the brave. Why can't our leaders see? We got the people that's supposed to lead us. All they do is try to keep us in fear.
Are you ready for a radical shift in your way of being? Are you seeking a more deeply connected and fulfilling life? Awakened Living Radio is a show dedicated to helping you embrace a life filled with profound peace, connection, and happiness. TJ Woodward is passionate about helping you find your clarity, balance, and purpose. Join co-host TJ Woodward and Dr. Pat Baccili on the first Monday of every month at 11 a.m. Pacific Time for Awakened Living Radio on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
Have you been seeing numbers like 111 and 222 everywhere you go? Do you feel that the universe may be trying to get your attention, perhaps offering a message of some sort? As it turns out, numerical patterns and certain types of geometry form the very fabric of our reality, from cells under a microscope to the astronomy of our night sky. At Stellar Reflections, we offer special sessions which tap into these patterns, designed specifically to support you on your journey. The 111 and 222 activations are sessions activating new patterns in your energy field, which in turn can help you create new patterns in your life. After just one session with a practitioner, either in person or via distance, clients report gaining greater clarity, becoming more intuitive, and honoring their inner truth as they move forward in their lives. Curious about what these transformational sessions might do for you? Call 425-999-9836 or visit stellarreflections.com. That's stellarreflections.com.
If you're one of the millions of Americans suffering from anxiety, you probably know how powerless and out of control this emotion can make you feel. This is why it is so important to remember that anxiety is created by your mind, which means that you can learn to use your mind to uncreate it. Hello, my name is Dr. Friedman Schaub. My award-winning book, The Fear and Anxiety Solution, provides you with a step-by-step breakthrough process to understand and resolve the root causes of your anxiety and build a solid foundation of confidence and inner peace. If you're ready to take your power back, visit thefearandanxietysolution.com. That's thefearandanxietysolution.com, or call 866-903-6463. That's 866-903-MIND.
They
I love this. I love this. It is so great to be chatting with Alvin Harrison joining me here today. I want to make sure you know how to find out more about Alvin and, the music. Rough Times in America was what you heard before. But just now, what Benny just played, and thank you, Benny, We Ain't Buying. The way to go find out more is really easy. You can go to www.the99online.com. The99online.com. And today what we're talking about is, something that I grew up with, Alvin grew up with, but, we're living in a world today. And the question mark is, for many people, is the music today driving social change as it did when I was growing up? And for those of you out there, no, I'm not leaving. I just got a little message from somebody. No, I'm not leaving out the 80s. The 80s set into motion a different trend. And it's interesting how we look at music, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and so forth and so on. But can music drive social change in today's world? Alvin, I want to ask you that question. Can it? And, what is it about Rough Times in America? How did you come up with that? And We Ain't Buying.
Well, I came up with Rough Times. I wasn't always into socially relevant music. I wrote the same kind of things that everybody else did, love songs, party songs. But I happened to, you'll remember back in 2013, the government shut down. Mm-hmm. And I happened to be watching a news story, and they were saying, well, we're going to furlough all the workers. Nobody gets paid, except the congressmen still get paid. And that, I looked at my wife, and I said, this song I'm working on is going to, it just popped into my head. It's going to be Rough Times in America. So I went to the studio the next day, finished the song in record time, put it on the internet, on Facebook, and a guy named Jay King out of Los Angeles, who had a band that was very famous called Club Nouveau.
Oh, yeah.
And you remember them? He contacted me and said, we've got to get this out. Now, of course, he knows the music business inside and out, and he said, things have changed, so we can't do things the way, I used to do them, but here's how we're going to do it. And really, social media is what really got the song started.
Well, let's talk about this because, fast forward to where we are today. And, the question really, I think that we asked early on was, okay, can today's music drive social change? And without judging whether this music of today is better than that music of the past. I mean, that was then, this, and now. We went from 0 to 120 in the 60s and 70s. We literally lifted up a culture in this country and said, we're going to take this culture and we're just going to pretty much throw it out. And we challenged everything. We didn't just challenge one thing. It was like, wait a minute, we're not treating people equally. We're not treating sex, equally, men and women. We're discriminating based on race. We're discriminating based on, sexual orientation. So we had some major blocks of social and cultural change that seem to all come to the forefront at once. Fast forward to where we are today, Alvin, and one person would say, wow, yep, we got a little social change going on here, but where's the music? What's your thought?
The music is there, and I think it's going to be there even more as Internet expands its, purview to the listening public. Right now, FM radio and AM radio pretty much dominate drive time because of the technology, but now more and more cars are getting connected. And so that's a really big time for music and for people to listen to music is during drive time. And so as soon as the Internet starts being able to give them some choices in their car, that's when you're going to see a big revolution in music. because then people can listen to what they want to and not to what they're being fed. And that's going to make a big difference.
Well, let's talk about the songs themselves. You know, just if we could, and let's talk about your songs. You have two. Okay. There are two songs we've played so far, and you shared a little bit about those songs. But the song about, you know, like We Ain't Buying It, you know, I remember, and I'd love for you to talk to this. And Benny, you know, I think we'll just skip a break. Maybe we'll drop in the last song at the end. I remember a time, I can remember this like it was yesterday, Alvin, and probably I'm dating myself, where the price of meat went skyrocketing up. I don't know what year that was, if it was in the 70s or 80s or when it was, but it went up and we stopped buying meat. I mean, we did. We just stopped buying it. And you know, some people think that made an enormous impact. Other people think it didn't. I believe today it did, because I remember making a conscious choice and saying, there is no way I'm paying that for meat. So what the meat industry learned, I have a friend that's in the industry, what the meat industry said they learned was, if you slowly raise the price of meat so people don't know it, then you'll gladly pay $10.99 a pound for a steak. And boy, I think he was right about that. And so is that the difference between the music in the 60s and 70s and the music now? You know, the music back then was like, we are so in your face. Is the music more subtle now, or are the issues different, or is it all of the above?
I think it's all of the above. You know, We Ain't Buying is a song that speaks to some of the lies that are being propagated. You remember, well, we went into Iraq because there were WMDs, and then there were no WMDs. We need to militarize our police force so that they can, you know, better serve us. Well, we see that's really not the case, and as a matter of fact, it kind of puts a kibosh on protesting. So that song is talking about, you know, we get a lot of lies, and we got to stop crying about this. We got to start doing something, and we're not buying it anymore.
Well, let's go to the phones. We've got a caller calling in. Christine from Seattle's calling in. Mr. Benny, why don't we bring Christine on the show? She's got a comment. I can't wait to hear.
Dr. Pat, and I love you, Alvin and Dr. Pat. Thanks so much for having this great show today and putting it out there about this platform that is so amazing and powerful. Music, in my opinion, music is the highest art form. You know, I was a DJ in Seattle for 20 years. I have my own show. I use music on my bumpers going in and out of break. It's my prime real estate. Music is so important. And I think what's most important about music, particularly in our country, is that there's all kinds of political ideas and things that people want to get across. In fact, I wanted to have a political show when I first began. But the reason that I didn't, and the reason I think music is so important, is because it is a platform and a forum for people to see what they can do. I think it's important that you're saying, you know, it kind of puts the kibosh on protesting, like I call it preoccupy instead of occupy. I think it's super, super important for people to understand that we live in the freest country on the planet. And as the freest people in the world, we have this immense responsibility to make it even more free. And the way we do that, just like you said you in your song that just came back in from break, you have to earn it. And to sit around and cry about how other people are doing stuff, or, you know, the stock market's doing that, or the government shut down, I have to sort of correct you there. Every government worker was paid. They were paid retroactively. And besides that, the government shuts down every week on Friday, from Friday to Monday. And so this idea that we're supposed to be given things, we're supposed to be given stuff, that all these things that we want as extras are our rights, they're not our rights. As Americans, we have the right to create that in this country. And as humans, we have the right to create freedom for the planet. And so I'm so glad that you are making this music and that you are bringing to light some of these issues, because people need to wake up. They need to wake up. You know, I love what you brought up about meat. Well, guess what? Health food when I was a kid was the cheapest food you could buy. Now I cannot believe that we are paying as much money as we are for people to give us less in our food, less chemicals, less stuff. And so it's really important for each of us to do what we can do individually and with each other on that micro level, because if we don't, it does not matter what is done on a macro level.
Yeah, wow. Thank you. You know, Christine, I want to ask you something about this, and Alvin, too, is that, you know, what I love about this is I, too, was asked to do a political show, and this was about 2 years into doing this, and one of the major organizations asked me, I think they were Jones Media, asked me, they said, look, we'll take your show and syndicate it if you can put your attitude to talking about political things. And I'll tell you, I had a moment where I thought, okay, and then I had like, no. Why would I do that? There's only one reason I would do that. It would have to do with some part of my ego. But, you know, you and I chose to do this. And why did I choose to do this? Because today I can pretty much talk about and have Alvin on and have you call in. And I don't have a producer or senior producer in the show saying, do not let that Christine call in again. Do not let her call in again. Because you know what? That is the way media is run right now. Don't you think? Right, Christine? I mean, you know this.
I do. Yeah. And might I add that what I love about you, the way you inspired me, and we've talked about this, is that you have created a way, and this is also what I do with my show, The Confessional. We create a way for people to see what can we do. We don't have to agree. We don't even have to like that we don't agree. But what can we do? What can we do to create a better country, a better city, a better neighborhood, a better planet? And that's really what's important. It does not matter. You know, it's true. These congressmen and all these people in office and all this stuff that's going on, I'll tell you, the politicians right now are lacking, but they are the thing that's the hardest to swallow is they are a complete mirror of what we will accept, the absolute mirror. And so we have a lot of work to do, a lot of work. I knew this nurse once, and she was like, what is this thought that there's all this unemployment and there's no work? There is work. As long as there are behinds to wipe, there is work. And so we all have something to do. We all have work to do, and we all have our purpose on the planet. And thank God for you, Dr. Pat, because I tell you what, if you only touched one life in all these years, it was me. And I am so glad that I listened to you in the early stages, and I am so glad that both you and I are putting it out there, and you too, Alvin, that people can do something. They don't have to sit around and accept what they consider to be their reality.
You know,
wow.
And one of the things I've tried to do with the songs is to not take a particular side. It's not Republican or Democrat or independent. It's just the issues so that people can think on their own. And if we just think on our own and come together, we will find the solution.
I mean, I think that's what we're talking about. I think, Christine, me and you, we should do a show. I think we should come up with a show and do a show together because, you know, I'm a little bit older, you know. I mean, all you need to do is listen to this show and have me talk about the 60s and 70s and Led Zeppelin and the fact that I actually went to Janis Joplin's last concert. You get a sense of how old I am. But the point is, am I going to go quietly in the night? You know, what is important in the world we live in? And I don't want to get into a story about this now, but I will tell you that a couple of years ago, I had an experience with a senior person that was having a little mental trouble. And what happens to you when you are a senior person as defined by our society and you're having a little mental trouble, you are one step away from Fairfax. And I will tell you that it is a nightmare right now for so many people that are aging in this country. And I can't even get off on my soapbox. But, you know, Alvin, maybe you can write a little bit of song here, you know, about who actually does pay for the cost when health care goes away. But I would thank you, Christine, for calling in. You know, Alvin, there's so many things we can talk about. And I do want to talk about our pop culture for a minute. Katy Perry changed the landscape of music in a sense when she decided she was going to talk about I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It. Hit the pop culture in a way that many people didn't even see it coming. Didn't see it coming. You know, this young woman from a very strict religious background, boom, does that song. But now let's fast forward. You know, the songs that have come out over time. Christina Aguilera's song, Beautiful. The video that was made from that song. How that won acclaim. You know, so many of these artists now bringing things to light. You know, Pink got hit left and right with Stupid Girls. What was that about? Well, if you listen to, and you know, that's the way Pink delivered the message about what's happening about self-image of young women. So aren't these songs, in essence, coming forth and doing this? And we haven't even talked about, you know, U2 and all this other stuff. Are we making an impact here?
Yes. Those songs, however, are about more of a cultural change as opposed to a social change, if you follow me.
Yeah.
And so, yes, we need more of all of it, but I would like to see more talking about a cultural change in America, a social change as opposed to a cultural change.
Well, give me an example of what that would look like for our listeners. Because, you know, there are many listeners listening that did not grow up in the 60s and 70s. That's Mr. Benny right here. So give us give us one thing that would talk to that.
Well, during the Vietnam War, we had any number of songs that were protesting the war and talking about how this was a war that we should not be in. Right now, we are fighting ISIS in Iraq and Afghanistan. I don't think people really understand why we are in those countries right now. You know, we're fed ISIS as our reason for being in Iraq, but really, is that the reason, or is it oil? And
wait a minute. I disagree with you. Oh, boy, I never disagree on the show, but I do disagree with you. I think we are absolutely aware of why we're there. I think that people know why we're there. I think if you ask the average person on the street to tell you the truth about why are we in that war, I think oil is going to come up or money is going to come up. Because I really think we're smart. I just think we don't want to deal with it.
I agree with you. I didn't mean to say that they didn't understand. As a matter of fact, in the last 3 years, if you look at social media and you look at media in general, I think you can see that Americans are waking up to the fact that, you know, what they have been told as the reason we are doing certain things may not be the real reason.
Well, I love this. I love this. What a great show today. I'm fired up. I'm having pity right now on my next guest in a moment here. So I'm just like, Benny's like, what is this girl going to say now? I love this, and you are so right about this. I did not know that I would have this kind of response. And we are putting a crowdfunding campaign to take our voice back. Because I have to tell you that a show like mine and a show like Christina, we are a payment away from being yanked off the air. This is really the world we live in. We live in a world where we have to buy airtime, and I have to thank every one of our sponsors, every one of our co-hosts, every one of our hosts, because they have supported us as we have in exchange helped them to be here today. And I love what we're talking about because you really are raising some interesting questions for me.
You know,
yeah.
You don't understand. I'm not even sure you understand how important your show is.
I don't, because I come from a place of I love what I'm doing. I want to help people. That's what I came out of the gate to do. I love our listeners. They are the best on the planet. I think you're right about that.
I am right. You know, I do a lot of talk shows, and they always have an agenda. And your agenda is to help people and to help people understand and to educate. And even though that's an agenda, that's really no agenda at all.
I love the name of your next song. We heard it here first. Do you know what it is? No agenda at all. That is the political song that needs to be written right now. No agenda at all.
If I write that song, will you play it on your show when you get it going?
24/7. No agenda at all. And, I love that. Someone asked me this morning, Alvin, and I know you get asked this a lot. I was interviewed this morning, and they were asking me about, why am I doing this? Why am I doing it? What is my agenda, so to speak? Kind of the question, right?
I'm going to age myself.
Okay.
I just had a new granddaughter who I'm going to see in next week for her first birthday. And there comes a time in your life, I think, when you start to ask the question, what have I done to make a change, to make things better?
Yeah.
And having a grandchild or having children really gets you thinking, I'm going to be gone soon, and what do I want to be remembered for? But not so selfish as what do I want to be remembered for. What am I going to do? What can I do to ensure that this next generation, doesn't have it so much tougher than ours, or that has it better than our generation? And right now, I really do believe Americans are starting to get that. Over the last few years, like I said, are really starting to ask that question to themselves. And so I'm really looking forward to the future.
Yeah.
I think Americans, they always work it out.
I have faith. I really do. I
too.
believe in our young folks. I've seen some of and not just our young folks. I mean, I'm talking about the generations that have come after me. I have enormous faith. Do you want to know why? Look at what's changed. Look at what's changed in the world. We just have gone through a period, whether you like President Obama or not is not the issue on this show. But this is a black man in the White House.
And
there are many of us that thought we would be dead and gone before that. We've just had laws changed, to open the door up to end equality across the board. So the folks that have come after us, Alvin, they are doing some stuff too.
Yes,
I think that what you and I are saying today, we just want to keep the light of awareness shining brightly on what we now are left to do, right?
And that's my whole goal. Just to remind people, here are the issues. Let's talk about them. Let's see if we can figure this out.
I love it. Alvin Harrison. Alvin, give out your, if you don't mind, giving out your website again for folks. And thank you for joining us here. Thank you, Benny, for a great job.
Yes, it's www.the99online.com. And there's something on there, on that website. It's a radio station locator where you can put in your call letters of your local FM or AM radio station, and it'll give you their phone number. If you want to help, give them a call and tell them, we want to hear these songs.
Yeah, exactly. Because that is what it's going to take. And, if you go back in the old days, in old school, right as the 50s were popping out, that's exactly how some of that music got on there. We moved from, I'm going to pay the disc jockeys to play my song, to, you know what, I'm going to go door to door and see what can be done. Thank you, Alvin. Thank you for a great day. Thank you for a great show. Hey, you guys, we're going to take a short break, and we'll be right back with the Dr. Pat Show. And this is me, Dr. Pat. Go to thedrpatshow.com if you want to find out more. And when we come back, we've got another amazing hour of talk radio. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
People in the land, they thought we'd always last. In this land of milk and honey, everything was good. People got